Okay, so welcome to the summer module of the game development project. This module hasn't been given for a couple of years now, but the idea is that this is the last capstone project which completes the game development project as a complete set. You already probably know that the actual presentations and this pitching event takes place after the summer period on the first week of next year, academic year. So this is something that you are expected to complete during the summertime, not something that you have to do during the next couple of weeks, intensive weeks, and so on and so on. So anyway, welcome. For those of you who didn't see the introduction video about this module, the aim on this course, or this module here, a game development crash course, is to design a game demonstration version, the first demo you would in old times put available for the public or currently show to your prospective publisher or people funding your project or other people. Also making marketing material, some sort of a demo, advertisement, flyers, things like that, and developing a business plan. These three things, as if your project team would be starting a real game company and was seeking investors or publisher. Actually, interestingly enough, a couple of the project groups from this module has started to make their own games, but on this course I'm not expecting you to register your trademark and doing anything like that. I'm just expecting you to think like you would be starting your own company. So, how this ties to anything? Well, this is the game development project roadmap I've been showing several times now. You have been working with the Unity and other game development tools on the fundamentals during the fall. You probably participated on the game development code camp, game jam code camp, and now for the third time you are expected to work as a real team. So we have been, you have been learning about game engines, game development tools, about working as a group, developing assets for games. So now the idea is to think one step further how to do games or create games as a professional developer. Also the fourth step there is the gamification proto camp, which by the way is on next week. So if you don't have any plans and still would like to get even more credits, you are welcome to join there. But today we are not talking about that, about the game development crash course. So basically, the idea is that you are able to work as a member of real team and taking into the account the business and marketing aspects of actually making games, running game startup, game studio, or something like that. So basically, because this aims to give you an idea on what sort of things are expected, this course will be graded with not only by us teachers, but we will invite industry specialists who are actually working in the industry to grade your works. How good or technically feasible or impressive your game demo is, how your advertising material works, how sound is your plan for business, and these sort of things. Also, you are allowed to do peer review. So if you are expected to create your own group. One is an artist, one is a developer, programmer, one is project manager, so on and so on. So you will also be reviewing each other. We won't have any exam here. We have mandatory presentation and survey after the summer period. So you are allowed to make your own schedules, your own deadlines, and decide on who does what, like exactly in a game startup group. So basically, what you are delivering, more or less, is marketing material, demo game, and business plan. On all these things, the idea is that how realistic or believable that thing is. So have someone from business school, some from industrial management, Kati Tuta, with you, if you can. This is actually one of the computer science courses where we actually expect you to find someone who is capable on business aspects and marketing things like that sort of stuff. So the idea is that you make marketing material, first of all the game pitch, which means that you make a 10-15 minutes sales pitch, which you would be presenting on real scenario on game developer conference or the prospective publisher or someone else. They have 10-minute slots. You present your game, you present your idea, you present your team. They tell you to go away, or they take you to the other room where they start to talk about money. So make that pitch, make yourself an advertisement for the game, and the quality, the outlook of the materials, and the believability of the material is also something we are grading here. On the game demo, how it looks, how it works, how believable it would be. So basically, it doesn't have to be very complex, as long as it looks something that would work as a sold game. Also, business plan, how realistic it is, how reasonable it is, how focused it is. So basically, what could you expect to do starting a business game company startup in southeastern Finland, in southern Karelia, as a student-based team? Or more or less consider how would you actually do this. And yet again, how believable the idea is. Basically, the people who will be grading your work have been on your shoes 5, 6, several years ago, so they might have an idea what sort of things to expect. Of course, I'm not expecting you to give them completely, fully correct answers, but keep in mind that try to think as you would be actually doing this. Okay, so how would you work then? Form a team of 3 to 6 people. There's one example where the team had something like 15 people across our university, Saimia, Kyam, other places. Well, the project didn't go anywhere, but I guess that's a sort of a result anyway. But let's try to keep it on 6 people. Try to include someone from marketing and management aspect. Make a work divisioning plan, make your own deadlines, adhere to them. I'm not going to be holding your hand here. I'm just expecting you to deliver things when I expect them. Present your game concept at the pitching event next fall. Deliver all material before August and answer to the course survey. That's basically the really short explanation on what to do on this module. A bit longer explanation comes in a couple of minutes. So you are allowed to use whatever platform or development engine or tools you are familiar with. Of course, you should select your tools based on what sort of people you get to your team. Of course, the Unity is one reasonable selection here because more or less everyone has at least some experience with it. But for any game engine, fantasy game generator engine, whatever the name of the one engine that you guys used, for example, is also completely feasible approach. So only restriction is that the game demo has to be playable or at least demonstratable at university standard issue Windows workstation or free emulator, simulator or browser game or whatever, so it can be actually tested. We will be sending them to our industry board members, so I don't want to start writing them a complex list of how to actually compile this with C and something stupid like that. Of course, you don't want to show that sort of thing to anyone who has the possibility to give you money, so of course we won't be showing that sort of thing to anyone who is here to grade your work. Anyway, use whatever platform, whatever tools you think you are capable of managing the work with. Anyway, another thing about these deliverables, well, of course, there's things that have been done, videos, flyers, marketing plans, social media integration, these sort of things, social media games. One guy's actually made t-shirts and stuff like that. Of course, you don't have to use real money here. Just make a plan for it and, for example, design the sort of shirt you would be giving out. This one group, for some reason, decided that they want to make those t-shirts anyway, so I didn't actually object that, but I'm not expecting you to do that. Business plans, finances, advertisement, how to buy publicity, work plan for the employees, how would you actually pay salary for other people. On the game demo, you have to have at least one complete, fully developed level, way to measure progress. So it doesn't have to be even a complete game, it just has to have one level made on fully spec'd content. This is exactly what it would look like when it's completed. Also, one thing, it can't be anything that you have already done. It can't be a continuation project, it has to be a new game. So it cannot be the Game Jam game extended with a couple of levels, it cannot be the fundamentals of Unity game. And I also heavily recommend that it isn't something that some other group showed a couple of years ago, because I've been, well, teaching this course for the entire time, so I've seen every submission. Of course, this isn't a problem, but I'm just saying here that you have to start from scrap. Not only because the workload is calculated so, but because the idea is that you have been practicing, now try to make something more professional. Anyway, from your team, elect one as a project manager. That person will be the first contact between me and your team. Project manager is responsible for registering the team and ensuring that all the materials at all deadlines are delivered. So basically that person will be sort of a supervisor or team leader or whoever. Usually this sort of person in a real startup would be someone who deals with customers, with the publishing deals, with these sort of things, tries to get advertisement space, participates on all these other happenings and that sort of stuff. But anyway, elect one as a project manager. Anyone here today is eligible to become a project manager. This was more or less mandatory meeting. I already have 2 groups because these people have been participating on this course earlier. But anyway, if you want to create your own team, that's fine. If you want to participate on some existing team, that's also fine. But anyway, elect one as a project manager. And send me an email address, send me name, phone number. I would like that. Also to ensure that the project manager actually knows that they are responsible for doing all these things. So I will not be sending email to everyone all the time, and because it's a summer period, you may not be here, you probably aren't here. I know that when it's the vacation time, I will not be here. So let's try to keep this communication line simple. So the project manager then sends me a list consisting on every group member's name, student number, email address, which can be used to contact them, what they are expected to do in the team, and the deadline for this was this month's 1st. You can forget that. If you want to participate on this course, create your own team and send the participants to me when you deliver the game design document. So you have 3 weeks to get yourself a group and send me the list of names who are participating in your team. You are of course allowed to change people in your group. Of course the idea is that you aren't constantly taking people in and throwing people out, so try to elect or select people to your group who you know that can deliver and who you know that are actually able to do something during this summer period. And of course, like on all courses, if necessary, I will require each and every one of your group to demonstrate what they did and what is exactly their work. But for most of the time, I'm counting on the project manager to actually manage and keep the workload fair. I also know that sometimes the project manager tends to do everything, leaving other people just wondering what are they actually expected to do, or the other way around, aren't doing anything. But of course, this is something that you should mention on the peer review. So you can tell the project manager to go, do some rude things with themselves if they are being annoying or not actually doing their work. Anyway, project manager should send me the list of your group members when you are delivering the game design document. Of course, the game design document is something that you are expected to send me before the summer period starts. So on May, each team should deliver a game design document and some concept art. So there's no real specific requirements here, just some basic concepts, ideas, what sort of gameplay, what platform are you using, maybe some crude drawing of your main characters and main ideas, these sort of things. So basically, so that before the summer starts, I get an idea on which teams actually started to do something and what did they actually start to do. This is also related to the selection of the people who are grading your work. So I know what sort of things you are doing, so if possible I can select which people or which game studio people I start to bother with so that they would grade your work. Anyway, there will be a course survey after the pitching event, which takes place in August. That's also the time for peer review. That's also way to collect the information who actually completed the course. So you have to answer to that survey. It's not on, you have to be present at the pitching event and you have to answer to that survey. Anyway, the pitching event, this is all, of course, something that's, in the far, far future. But at the pitching event, you should prepare your presentation as you would be presenting your idea to a group of investors, like on Dragon's Den or Leijona Luola or whatever program it is. Yes, do you have a question?
Yeah, you said the deadline for registering everything is the 1st of May?
The group registration deadline is on 1st of May, and when you are, just send me the information about your group members when you send in the game design document, because the first deadline already passed.
Like 1st of April?
It is on the slide which you said so.
Yes, it is on the slides, but I forgot to change it. Just go with the 1st of May. Believe me, I'm the one actually giving this course. So anyway, anyway, there will be teachers, there will be people from industry. Show the concept, how it would make money, why it would make money, monetization plan, for example, what sort of things you would want to sell to your users. Are you making pay-to-play, free-to-play game, or designing free-to-play, pay-to-play game, these sort of things. So the idea is that you have to convince your audience that your idea will work, it will be success, it will be huge, and you will make tons of money with it. So basically, this is the pitching event after you have the game. So these are the deadlines, and on this team registration deadline is already gone. Yes, I know that, but send the information about who are you working with when you send your game design documents. Also, the final materials are expected to be delivered 2 years ago, so don't worry about that. Just deliver them before the pitching event. So the final material, all the materials you are expected to deliver before end of August. So before the next academic year starts. the game design document for your team, and the team members you have to send me before the second day of May, so before Labor Day, and all the materials have to be delivered before the next academic year starts, before the end of August. There will be notifications, there will be email alerts regarding these deadlines approaching, so don't worry about it. And the course survey has to be answered before end of September, and the game pitch is dependent on the schedules of the industry people when they can be here, but it will be arranged around the first lecture week of next academic year. Okay, so these are the deadlines, and of course you don't have to spend the entire summer working indoors on your game. You can make your game, complete your game during, for example, May, and then just deliver everything before holiday period starts, and then take the rest of the summer off. But of course you have time to deliver things, design and develop things during the entire summer. Okay, so I will also give a couple of pointers how the actual game startups work, what sort of things they are doing as a part of this presentation. But this is the end of the administrative part. Do you have anything to ask right now? Good. Okay, so a couple of ideas on what actual game developers or game development companies do. Some of these slides are things you have seen before, I know, but still. Well, the idea is that the games are, constantly growing business. It's starting to gain on movies, it's already past music, and the entire software industry, which is mostly Microsoft and these sort of companies which sell operating systems and software as a product, is something like 300 billion. So on this scale it would be somewhere on this building's roof. But anyway, but games are starting to become really important and influential area of software development. Of course, for example, automotive industry, almost everything in cars is nowadays software, but these aren't in that number because the car companies don't deliver software as their product. Their product is the car. Anyway, but the games are becoming an important part of the software industry, so it's only natural that they are included in when talking about software development. Like I said earlier on previous modules, most of the households play games. The average age of players is growing older every year. So it's starting, these are a couple of year-old numbers, but the average age of player is nowadays closer to the age of retirement than actually the age when you can drive legally your car. Also, almost half of the players or game players are female, so that stereotype is out of the window. And also, for most, actually a large subset of players or gamers, games are actually their favorite hobby. So it's not only something that they do once in a while, it's actually one thing they like to spend their time with. So overall, this says that pretty much everyone plays games. So what does this mean to your design is that your game concept or your game idea can be almost anything. You can sell your games to whichever group, and actually some companies like King with their Candy Crush Saga games and all these things are actually aiming towards 25-35 age women, because they are usually people who have credit cards, who have money, and who, for the reason that they are tend to be home taking care of the babies, have only really short bursts of time when they can play something and then they have to go back to attend the baby. So these people are their target audience. The game is fast, the game looks nice, you can play it when there's babies around, it doesn't bother them to show the candies going here and there and doing these colorful explosions when there's babies around, and the Child Protective Services wouldn't care about that. Also, they have money, so they will buy the in-app purchases when they get stuck somewhere. So that's actually really good way to make money, and it's completely atypical demographic of game hobbyists or players in general. Anyway, overall, everything sells. Action is, of course, the largest piece of the pie. Also, sports games, shooter games, family entertainment, everything, role-playing games, race driving games, strategy games, everything you all can come up with, it sells. And it's actually really important to understand that this slight sliver here, this smallest piece of the pie here, which goes to arcade games, is actually worth almost 150 million US dollars. So every idea is something that can be feasible business. Of course, it also means that you won't probably make a game that's able to cater to all these areas. So you won't have a natural monopoly on one company or one product, but on several different genres there might be the leading game or something like that. But anyway, every one of these parts of the pie is actually something that you can live with. Well, at least I could live with 73 million US dollars per year. So your design isn't restricted to something that you think that sells. It can be basically anything if you consider it from the business point of view. So, well, trends also tend to change. So you're making a game design based on what you would... On this module, the idea is that you make a design based on what would actually sell. So if you make or design a Angry Birds or, well, whatever Clash of Clans copy number 5600, who cares? It won't sell, it will be economic disaster or financial disaster, and you will be graded accordingly. So trends tend to change. So think something that might actually be innovative, creative, or new thing. So don't get stuck by just copying an existing thing. It's not the thing we are looking for here. Of course, if we look at what actual game companies do, they make sequels after sequels after sequels. There's like 1 million Angry Birds game already existing. Modern Warfare on a PC system, I think it's up to something like 17th iteration. They've all been actually the same. A bit more realistic gore and a bit more realistic, well, fantastic guns with realistic physics. But anyway, so of course there's dominant systems which are almost to the degree of standardization, but your design doesn't have to care about that. Design for platform you know or you are familiar with, and also you are, well, allowed to design a product line like Angry Birds or stuff like that, but keep in mind that we are looking for innovation. You can design actually sequels if you want to start making a really long-term business plans, so you are creating a new intellectual property, IP, and making a series of games or things like that. But, well, of course, you can already design your amusement park, but, well, yeah, let's not spend time on that. So, previous years, there has been problem with people understanding what actually happens on the markets. Well, there's some ideas, some numbers on how the game startup companies actually see the world and what has happened. First of all, the idea is that on each euro you spend on buying a game box, for example, from Prisma or any other company, you get something like 10 cents if you are the developer. The publisher, the distributor, and the retailer take 90% of the money. You get 10 cents from each euro. Also, if you are doing digital distribution, like selling your game on Steam or App Store or Google Play or wherever, you tend to have a bit better place. So up to 70% of each euro gets to your pocket. But unfortunately, the visibility, ability to actually be presented to your customers, means that you usually need marketing campaign, you need marketer, you need publisher to get publicity for your game, and that eats 1/3 of your money. So you might get 25 cents out of each euro into your pocket. But keep that in mind, these are actually important numbers. Of course, these are only pay-to-play games, which are a bit out of trend now. Also, there's other things to take into account. So when you are designing your budget or your finances, or if you are in the pitching event asked the questions, okay, so how much money would you need? You can say, well, I want 1 million euros. That's, well, unrealistic. But take into consideration this. First of all, if you aren't marketing your game, you are doing it wrong. For profit for non-marketed game, which was released at App Store, which had nothing wrong with it, it was fine, nice game, it was completely feasible as a hit product, well, it made total of 74 euros of profit during its entire lifetime. The same company did a second game. They had a publishing plan and they had a publishing partner with it, and it generated almost immediately over 25,000 euros. That one game. Of course, they have, after this event, they have added new platforms, sequels, made an complete product line out of it, so I think that the profits are now closer to 250,000. But still, the same team, the same guys, same sort of game. This was more or less a non-marketed technology demo, and this was something that they were actually trying to get out the people to see them. In general, if you are on top 25 list on Apple Store, it's 5,000 euros per day profit into your pocket. So it might seem that it's not much, but well, that's the realistic number. You aren't going to become instant millionaire, but you will make nice profit if you are on the top 25 list simply because of added visibility. Overall, all mobile games, if you want to put them online on App Store and they are professionally made, they may take 3 to 6 months to make. No matter if they are the 74 euro game or if they are the 25,000 euro game, they take 3 to 6 months to make. Also, 90% of the sales are within the first month of the release. So you will get a burst of money, and then you will just keep getting the bills for a continued maintenance. And of course, you are always in international markets here. If you decide to make your game Finnish only, or Swedish only, or something silly like that, you are already doing it wrong. Of course, localization helps. There's always a sales spike when the game is released on some localized language, but by default, you should think about going into international markets. There's also things to consider about the design and things like that. So if you want to go really into some local fantasy lore or something like that, you might want to put a tutorial there. Because people, of course, don't know the folk songs and stuff like that from other places of Earth. Anyway, but that was the pay-to-play model. That's a bit old hat right now. It's something that still exists. People use it, or companies use it, because it's straightforward, but the free-to-play model is now the hot potato, which everyone is trying to do. Well, first of all, marketing in its purest sense for free-to-play games is purchasing users. It doesn't matter where you market your game or how you market your game. it's always the calculation that for each X euros spent on this marketing campaign, we get Y new users. So, people who download your game and start it at least once. All of these people who download your game and start it at least once, up to 14% might play your game more than that one time. So you have to front load your features because most of the people or players or potential players don't actually play your game. Out of those who play your game more than once, 95% of players, they really don't pay for anything. They just play it because it's free, spend a couple of minutes with it sometimes, and don't pay for anything. 4% of your players might buy something once or twice, or pay for something extra, be it that they unlock some feature or unlock some new levels or unlock something, but they aren't actually paying long-term money. 1%, or actually it's closer to 0.5%, are these sort of whales. They provide you a constant stream of income. They might actually spend thousands of dollars per user on your game. There's actually one guy who was the global first on Clash of Clans for several months, or at least several weeks in a row. That person decided that he has to hire himself assistants, people who keep playing the game when he's sleeping, showering, eating, doing these sort of things. So people will, if everything works perfectly, people will go crazy. That's just a statistics. But these people are the ones who actually pay your development. But in any case, if you want to make money, you have to gather a user base. And you have to have those freeloaders, those people who don't pay for anything, because you have to have people in your game. If it's completely abandoned place, there's no player versus player features which no one is using, you have to somehow compensate for that. Here's a picture for the user space. So here's 200 users. These people you managed to actually get to download your game and install it on their mobile device. Well, first of all, these blue people here, they will once open your software, your game, and they will never ever use it again. They will just say, "Oh, why bother?" and next, please. These green people here, they are your active users. Unfortunately, they don't pay for anything. They just use your game for free. And the last column there, the yellow and red ones, are the actual people who pay you money for your excellent product. These are the people who will pay for €1 extra diamonds or extra feature or stuff like that. And this is the person who will go insane and spend hundreds, if thousands of euros on your game. So the problem here is that you have to gather all these people, get the advertisements, get the publicity, do whatever it takes to get all this huge busload of people, well actually I think it's more like 3 busloads of people, to get that one person here who will spend enough money for you to make it worthwhile. Well, also the yellow ones help, but I mean, one good red one easily compensates for all the yellow ones. It actually easily compensates all the yellow and green ones, and if we are absolutely realistic, that one red person there compensates for all the 199 other people of this picture. So this is free to play. And if you say that you don't need marketing, I cannot, well, if I could, I would draw you that if you don't pay for marketing, or if you decide that we will go mouth-to-mouth marketing or something silly like that, your user base will be these 2 columns here. Some people who accidentally download your game decided, oh, this wasn't what I want, and immediately delete it. So if you are going if you are trying to be serious about it, you have to get publicity, or you have to design some form of publicity. Okay, so these things we already talked about on Fundamentals of Unity. We have also been talking about these on the Finnish Game Jam Code Camp. But anyway, how could you then use if you are the one who is selected to work as a project manager, of course, it's not really anything difficult. I mean, game development and software development are all basically more or less the same things. You design things, you develop things, you have tools, you do testing, you try to stay in time, in budget, with the intended features and with acceptable quality. So, of course, if you are doing games, you should also consider what sort of customers do you want, what sort of marketing perspective do you have, what sort of artistic vision do you have. I know that on many occasions the artistic vision is what our artist can draw. But anyway, try to have your own idea here. Also, testing with users is important. You are selling them a way to escape reality. They are paying for you to give them experiences or waste their time efficiently and have fun while doing so. Also, sound design, these sort of things, they are important. And for example, having nice background music or working sound effects and stuff like that really adds up to the experience. Because people won't pay you if you have complete crap for your user experience. They want to have an emotion or desired effect if you are using. And if you are, for example, making something like Silent Hill, you probably don't want to have some freaking Super Mario jumping there around. It's not funny in any sense, but if people want to be scared, then scaring your users is something that you should be doing. And the sound design is part of that. Anyway, there's also some aspects which are quite unusual. Real-time client multiplayer things, artificial intelligence, these sort of things. And overall the objectives in time, in budget, acceptable quality, all features, and the most important thing, is the game fun? Or more likely, is the user experience fun and what you exactly want your clients or customers to have? Okay, so some ideas on how to actually develop your game. These are the two models more or less applied by most of the game startups. The system here, the difference here, basically is that these guys, it looks like a waterfall, well basically it isn't, but anyway, the idea is that these guys first develop a prototype, and when they are able to sell their prototype to some company who is foolish enough to take the financial responsibility, they make the game, and then it's approved, it goes to publication, there's maintenance, updates, bug fixes, and stuff like that. So basically, they make an idea, they develop a prototype, they sell it, and when they have financial security, they start working with this cycle. This is also something that the larger companies tend to do. They know from marketing surveys and customer surveys and things like that their idea or their new concept isn't going to be an absolute bomb, so they will try to have some sort of financial security before they commit to the development work. So develop things, test things, it doesn't work, then change things, these sort of actions. This part, however, is the more realistic how startups do things. So okay, we have a game idea, we make a rough plan out of it, we develop things, well, some things don't work, we refine the design, we do testing work, what could be done differently, we get feedback from any source available, be it family, friends, pools, customers, publishers, whoever, going around in a shopping center chasing target audience, users for test run and these sort of things. Whatever feedback source you have, you use, you decide on changes, make a rough plan, and develop it further. So keep it in this cycle, try to polish it a bit further, make it a better, until you are satisfied with the feedback you are receiving. Or more likely, you are going bankrupt, you are broke, you absolutely fucking hate your game and want to get rid of it, so then you put it online, available for sales. So that's basically how you do it. Well, in a nutshell, this is how games are developed. So if you have the possibility to gain financial security, well, that's nice, and this is how you do it then. But if you just want to work, if you are working as a startup company, you are working on a €0 budget, you start by going through these development cycles as long as you can. When the feedback turns mostly positive, then you start to look for publisher or self-publish if you just want to have a portfolio reference. This is important because usually the game companies aren't interested in studio which hasn't launched anything. So the first game is almost always, first game or a couple of games are more or less portfolio stuff. You show, for example, someone like Electronic Arts or whoever mobile game publishers that you actually have a team who uses their head for something else than a hat stand, so they can then have security that, okay, this studio delivers, so I can trust my money with these guys. Well, from the game design, usually the idea how they do the game design is that there's a lead designer, someone who more or less takes the responsibility of deciding what they want to have in the product, what they will take out and have some sort of an idea or concept, what is the thing we want to do. The prototyping is fairly common, just couple up something that works with Unity, test the idea, if it's complete crap then throw it away, test another one, if it's still complete crap throw it away, and at some point on this path you will come up with something that seems to work. Well, that's your design. Of course, what the companies use for source is movies, fairy tales, books, TV, daydreams, twisted sense of humor, all these other places. It's not like that, like everything is original design. They rip off ideas from each other. That's business practice in the industry, so don't be too ashamed to admit that. In any way, there's one idea which summarizes the concept quite well. If you cannot summarize your idea in 3 slides, it's a bad idea. If you can't put your game idea efficiently on 3 slides, then it's too complicated, the players won't get it. Also, keep in mind that sometimes you have absolutely brilliant idea in your mind, it looks good on paper, it looks good even as some form of prototype, but then it completely bombs as a game. Some concepts which seem fine don't work as a game. On the other way around, some concepts that seem completely stupid are some things that work as a game very well. There is a one hit game where the only task is to tap an egg 1 million times. So it's really crazy. Anyway, but keep this in mind. Some things work on paper but not as a game. Some things work as a game, not on paper. And if it takes more than 3 slides to explain, it's always a bad idea. Okay, so what should I say about this? Well, this is more or less if you go into the industry. The games deliver user experience, playability, having fun, or having the desired type of experience when playing is only the only important part. Technically, good enough is enough. We don't care if your IE algorithm is absolutely optimized or your search algorithm is somewhat crappy. If the game isn't good, it isn't good. If it's good enough, it's good enough. And in overall, the game development is creative work with software engineering stuff in it. So the game developers feel that they are doing at least some form of art. since if art is delivering a memorable experience, then yes, games are art. However, on this point, games are not art for art's sake. So people argue that games are art because they deliver desirable experience without having any functional work. For example, if you are filing in your tax returns on tax office's website, you are doing something efficient and something that actually has meaningful function. Paintings don't have meaningful function. The opera doesn't have meaningful function. Music concerts don't have meaningful function. The games don't have meaningful function. They are delivering experience. So in this sense, they are all art. But games are not art for art's sake. No one wants to be the guy who slashed their ear off and died penniless as forgotten game maker, like some artists, painters do. However, games are usually always designed with profit in mind, and the artistic merits and creativity are secondary, although well-received attributes. So the game developers would really like to have huge backloads of money more than being recognized as an artist of game design or something like that. Of course, if you can combine financial success and artistic success, that's probably really great. But anyway, the games deliver experience, but if you don't have any idea on how to make money out of delivering that experience, you really aren't getting the fundamental idea of games industry. We aren't doing art house games here, we are trying to make profitable work here. Anyway, on testing, when you get to this point, user testing, usability testing, explorative testing, unit testing, these are the ways to test, the game developers test their software. The objectives are, well, like I said, technically good enough is enough. We don't care about optimizing algorithms unless it's not crashing the game or making the AI seem absolutely stone cold stupid. Mechanically, this is something that actually doesn't exist usual game development. Make sure that there is no way to always win, especially if you are making a multiplayer game. If you accidentally design something that guarantees that player 1 wins, regardless of what the player 2 does, if they follow this one strategy always, well, of course your game design is then crappy, but well, this is something that has to be tested out. People tend to be really creative. And finally, on the user experience, is this what we want? In any occasion, if you think that this isn't really working, you should probably throw it out and try, or at least find replacement for that particular part. So tools. If you are going with Unity, then you probably already have all the allowing easy prototype things. Ability to design while implementing, because you can make the design document, you can start implementing your game, but you will have design changes during the development cycles. So do not follow the game design document as if it would be some form of Bible. It's more or less just a compilation of all your ideas so far. So test different approaches, use the ones you think work best, and if your tools don't allow easy prototyping or designing while implementing, then you probably are doing something wrong. Again, in industrial companies, this huge wall of text here is more or less saying that, okay, of course the ticket systems and task systems and all these things are fine and dandy if you have more than 10 people, and you have to have some form of traceable quality attributes for your publisher and that sort of things. Of course, you are working on a maximum of 6 people group. You don't have to prove me that what part of your design work was scheduled for performance testing or stuff like that, so you don't really have to go too deeply into this to get things. Startups don't usually do this, but if you are part of a large multinational company, you have to have some form of control over who does what, and if you have several local studios working together, it would be complete nightmare or insanity to actually try to do something without managed workloads or workflows. Anyway, try not to use self-made tools. This is one thing I want to point out on this point, because sometimes it might seem that it's actually easier to start first making our own game engine and own level editor and these sort of things. Stuff is really restricting, but I'm warning against this approach here, because you only have something like 3-4 months to do this during summertime, and you will be doing mostly unnecessary work on this course if you are starting by designing your own engine. Of course, you are allowed to do so, but it's up to your project manager and your group to decide, but there are already existing tools. For, if nothing else, send everyone on a crash course on some JavaScript framework or Unity engine or something like that. Don't try to make your own tools. Nowadays there are enough things for you to choose from. This wasn't true 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, but now if you read from older articles and they say that the current tools, current engines are unoptimized pieces of crap, it doesn't hold true anymore. Almost all startup companies, in fact almost all game companies, are using third-party engines. They are no longer making their own physics things, stuff like that. Okay, so comparison to what your group is doing. What is the normal startup team? They are making mobile game for smartphone or tablet. For the 2 to 4 people, they are all working as owners. It means that they don't have salary, but they all will get their fair share of money if their game is a hit and it actually makes them profit. Usually there's one who's mainly the designer, one who's mainly the programmer, and one who's mainly the artist. The designer is usually also the one who's mainly the business person, or the business person is the 4th person in the group. Of course they all do everything, but there's usually one who is very good at designing games, one who's very good at programming, and one who's very good at drawing. Because, with 4 people you can't expect one person to just focus on one thing, but you have to have all these things that you maybe even have a game. So the idea is, of course, that you make a simple game design to get something published. When you have something published, you have portfolio, you have some users, you have some statistics, you have some sort of profile, then you start to get the big players to get interested in you. Usually, for real startup teams, the biggest expenses are tools, acquired licenses, these sort of things, and marketing, especially the marketing part. All the companies you talk with say that marketing, getting people to know that you exist, is the most difficult part of making a startup company. And actually there's one saying here, I quote on one of our game studio partners, that until you publish something, you are not a game studio, you are just a bunch of people having no income and making games as a hobby. So get something published and quickly. That's the icebreaker for the industry. So sound effects, secondary 3D models, music are outsourced if it's possible money-wise, and the 3 most important problems named by the startups are money, second is money, and interestingly, third one is also money. You need to have visibility, you need to have some way to show people that you exist. This is my product, please try it, please pay for it if you like it. And this is the exact problem. if you have money, everything else, publicity, visibility, is purchasable expense. Every technical aspect, every tool aspect, every other thing is just elbow grease, sleepless nights. So unpaid overtime and trying enough time so that you actually manage to get something that works. All right. Well, there's company growth models here. Usually minimal core team is 1 to 2 developers. Then there's game designer, lead artist, the business and other people, musicians, quality assurance, these sort of things come afterwards. This is a very interesting model. However, this has no relevance to you whatsoever at this point. But if you decide to found your company, then please contact me and I will explain you how this works. So this is more or less an ideal roadmap on what you need, where, when to not throw away your money when trying to develop your business. And finally, also what's important to most startup companies and recent startup companies is presented here. I'm not going into the calculation model. You have to accept the fact that I'm not going to tell you detailing how this matrix least square fitting model works. First of all, I don't remember the details probably correctly. Second of all, we have already calculated this one, so I'm not going to go back and explain it. But this is very interesting. So we have 6 startup companies, and we have 9 attributes here. These are all different things that the companies have or need. Human capital, marketing, financing, key partners, customer relationships, key resources, key activities, innovation process, customer segment. So what is the most important thing for the startup company to know or have? Well, the human capital is always the most important thing for startup. If you don't have professional or experienced or knowledgeable people, then you might as well not exist. If you cannot create professional level assets, there's no reason for your existence. Second place is marketing. Usually the companies said the marketing is the second thing they need to do. It's something that's in the lifeline of the company. And on the case of Case C, where the marketing was the least important thing for them, was because the Case C actually had made a marketing deal with a publisher. So they didn't have to care about anything related to marketing because they had business partner. All these other companies didn't have one, and most of them said that it's actually the lifeline of the company. Of course, the financing is other thing. If you are bankrupt, if you can't pay salaries, if you can't pay for the rent or electricity or your internet connection, there's really no way of actually doing anything. Finding key partners comes next, and things like key resources, what sort of software licenses we have, what sort of office we have, what sort of ability to go abroad, or things like that we have, don't really matter. Key activities, how we make games, doesn't matter as long as they get done. Innovation process, well, it doesn't matter as long as we have something that sells. Customer segment, it really doesn't matter as long as we find someone who is foolish enough to give us money. So, human capital, get people who know their stuff. Marketing, get customers to see your product. And financing, have enough money to pay your bills. These are actually the things that are important. So, couple of final words here. In Finland, games industry employed 2,000 people in 200 companies in 2014. This doesn't include freelancers or pre-startup companies. Basically, pre-startup meaning that they are people like you, but they are actually trying to found the company. They are developing their first product and they are looking for financing as a student group or as a group of unemployed professionals or whatever. They have decided to found their company, but they haven't made the paperwork yet. That's a pre-startup. But anyway, 2,000 employees at 200 companies. So basically, about same amount of employees that a larger university by itself. For example, Lund had something like 1,000 employees. University of Tampere University of Technology has something like 3,000 people. So it's not really that big as an industry, but it's becoming more important. This year, in Lappeenranta region, we have 3 game studios which are still cooperating with the university. We have had a couple of more, but one decided to change their address of business to Joensuu. Other one decided to go to Helsinki. One decided to cease operations. But in any case, the southeast Finland, basically meaning Lappeenranta, Imatra, Kotka-Kouvola region, more than 20 studios. And the common problem is that we don't have graphical artists here. Simply, engineers are not usually well known for their ability to draw stuff. So that's actually the biggest hindrance on game studios at this point. If you are able to hold your pen correctly and make something that doesn't look like a crude draft, then you are more probably going to find employment in a game studio if you really want to do so. If you are getting paid by the game studio, that's a completely different thing, but hey, at least it's something. At this point, we have a couple of minutes left. Do you have anything to ask? Questions, comments, these sort of things about what you should be doing, how this module works? I remind you that you are expected to form your own group and send an email to me about your group in general. So questions, anything? Good. I will have meeting hours on Tuesdays, 10 to 11. Of course, most of this course will be during summer months, so I will not always be there. Send me email beforehand. And check out Noppa pages regularly, at least on the upcoming weeks. I will be giving you information, contact addresses, these sort of things, if you want to join as a member to one group. If you want to become a project manager, then just start recruiting people to your group, and before the 2nd of May, send me a game design document and list of your employees, so I know who started this course and what you started to do. Okay, good. This is all I have. Thank you. I'll close the recording, and then you can ask also questions if you are gun shy about saying something to the video.